Thank you, Filipe. Morning, everyone. My name is Vangelis. I'm from Greece, and I'm a moderator of this session. Now I know everybody here is hungry, including us, so let's get started so we can all go and have some lunch. Any objections? No? Good. Initially, I would like to let you all know that the session was entirely composed of young people of whom I will now introduce. So to the right of me, you will see Liz from Estonia, Daniela from Spain, David from Romania, Damian from Macedonia, Robin from Belgium. Behind me is Katerina from Slovakia, and I will now pass this podium to my fellow moderator, Kabir.
Hello everyone, I'm Kabir Singh, I'm from Luxembourg, and today we'll be playing a small game. I'll explain the rules right now. So our fellow speakers here will be asking the audience, you, a few questions. And if you agree with the question, you'll have to stand up. If you disagree with the question, you'll have to stay seated. So now we'll pass the floor to our first speaker, Lisa.
Hi, my name is Lisa. I'm the Estonian for the big youth, and I will start with a question. So, does violence shown in video games have an effect on children? If you agree, please stand up. Okay, really nice overview. So, in my opinion, the influenceability of a child depends on their age and mental state. So I think violence shown in video games can have an influence on a child, but it doesn't mean they're gonna turn into small murderers. So yeah, that's my opinion.
Hello. Hi, my name is Daniela. I'm from Spain, and I'm going to get the second question. Can playing video games for a long time change the stress level in children and young people? I hope you remember the rules. Yes, stand up. No, stay on your seat. Okay, we have a little majority, and we're going to get some opinions of the public. So he is going to go with the microphone and get some opinions. So if you see that he's giving you the microphone, it's because he's asking for your opinion and we want to hear you, okay? So go for someone.
Oh, of course. Yeah, hello. Thank you very much for these questions because I think we all agree that there is an impact of video game on stress level of young people. It can enforce it, and certainly a certain period of the day before going to sleep, for example, we see an impact on the stress level of young people. But at the same time, I would like to emphasize that video game can also let decrease maybe the stress of some kids when they are very nervous of having a bad day. And it can also play a role of a sort of catharsis to just express another kind of stress.
Yes, that's so right. Actually, video games have a good, bad impact on kids because it can increase anxiety and increase stress levels because sometimes games have a mechanic that pressures you into playing more and more every time and rewards you by playing. So nowadays there's a thing we call FOMO. It's like fear of missing something, and when a game rewards you for being playing, you can experience this and it forces you to keep playing, playing and playing. And also when it's so difficult, it can get you on anxiety or get your stress level super raised, but also it's it can decrease the stress levels in young people and childs that actually experience so much pressure or tension in their day-to-day lives, and it can be like a way to escape and socialize, and yes, it's a good way to get out of the day and just relax a little. Thank you. I'm going to the next question, and actually here's it. Can video games have a positive impact on a child's learning problem or solving skills? Okay, it's nice to see that almost all of us agree with that kids actually or children can get a positive impact with playing video games because that's important. It's nice to see it, and I'm glad to see you all like standing up because it's important that a kid get some creativity or solving problems so quick, like quick taking decisions by a quick way. And yes, actually can get socializing online and online video games. You can, and that's important because we need to stop seeing video games as an enemy or like some adults can see video games like a bad way, and they're so like bad, famous in a bad way for some adults, and we need to stop that. Also, that's like we need to work on it, and it's nice to see that we're like consensus, like that it's fine to play video games sometimes, that you can get good things from video games, and yes, it's nice to see you all like agree with us.
So,
Well, when I see my son is 12 years old, and when he plays like Fortnite or other age-inappropriate games, maybe, because he's only 12, but it's a big strategy group with his friends. They have strategies. You do this, I do that. You hide, I shoot. Okay, shoot, yes, because they shoot. And then, yes, I see they really grow with a strategy, with a teamwork, and they have fun, they laugh, so it's still positive in that sense.
okay, so we had great questions so far. Hopefully mine will be just as lovely. Yeah, I'm David, and my question is, should loot boxes be regulated as a form of gambling? Stand up if you agree. Explain more about loot boxes. So loot boxes work emotionally. They work on the same principle. You pay money, and the outcome is completely random. But why isn't legally gambling? Um, Loot boxes aren't legally gambling because there was one country that said that, and this one was Belgium. And in order for something to be classified, in order for something to be classified as gambling, you need to get something in return that will be directly converted into real world money. And unless I woke up in a world in which V-Bucks or Robux will be converted directly on the app into real money, then I don't think it's the case for gambling. Yeah. So Derek was here the other day from PEGI, and he told us about the games that use loot boxes. 97% of them actually don't use loot boxes because I think it wouldn't be such hassle. But the rest of them, even though they are visible ones, I personally feel it isn't worth the hassle for 3%, and so harmless and not very spreaded. Yeah, that was my first question. We'll go to the other one. Esports is considered a real sport today. Do you agree that it should be? Stand up if you do. Yeah, very controversial, I see. So, Kabir will give the microphone to someone with interesting ideas, I can tell you.
I think each sport, it's competitive as well as other sports, and people train a lot to excel at esports. And it raises the heartbeat and stuff like that. So I think you could say that it is a sport because it's competitive, and also it burns energy as well as other sports do so. And I think we all agree that Formula One, for example, is a sport, and that's similar to esports. So yeah, that's why I think it's a sport.
Yeah, that's a very valid opinion.
According to the European Sports Charter's definition of sport, sport means all forms of physical activity which, through casual or organized participation, aims at expressing or improving physical fitness and mental well-being. And yes, one can argue that esports may be a form of physical, what is the definition again? Yeah, physical activity, considering it raises the heartbeat. I think there are a lot of other biological factors at play. So that's why I think that esports shouldn't be considered as a real sport.
I would also say if chess considered as a sport, then chess game is also a sport, right? If chess is a sport, then chess game is also a sport.
I think it is. I think it is. Okay.
So I think the lack of physical activity can be solved with a VR headset. Yeah, we have so many ways of doing fitness at home. I personally think esports aren't sports because sports need to have some culture, some longevity. Let's take archery, for example. You need to master the bow and the arrow in order to hunt. Most of the sports formed this way, but for the modern sports, I don't think you can tell me a sport that is controlled by one single company. I don't see basketball or football or any other one being with the tournaments controlled or with the gameplay changed at will. Some things that can happen, and we don't know if this is happening, but I'm just putting down the facts here, anytime. So, yeah, this is my opinion on that. Thank you.
Okay, and I will end the question part with my last question. Does age restrictions that are in games actually prevent adult content from reaching the children? If you agree, please stand up. So we agreed on one conclusion entirely. That's nice. So age restrictions are not traffic signs, but they are like warnings to parents, so they can note it and bring the right games to the child according to the age that is prohibited for. And it is the parents' decision if they want to follow the age restriction or not. So we never can be 100% sure if the right age is playing the game that it is made for. So, in conclusion, for having a remarkable and a safe gaming experience, the child and their guardian have to do their part of the work to have an enjoyable gaming experience. So that's all from the questions, and we'll bring the floor to the statements part.
Thank you, Lisa. Hello, everyone. Now we are moving on to the statement our group was discussing about. And it says, playing video games offer more benefits than disadvantages. We have here two of panelists, Damian and Robin. And now Damian will speak about benefits of playing games. Damian, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Katarina. My name is Damian. I agree with this statement because playing video games has many benefits like relaxing, logical thinking, cooperating, strategic thinking, advanced educational advantages like learning new languages, especially English language, logic, programming and math by puzzle or simulation games. Also, gaming encourages teamwork, communication, and collaboration. It reduces stress, anxiety, and tension by offering an escape from our everyday problems. Also, gaming or playing video games can be a profession. For example, streamer, content creator, or esports player. Thank you. Robin, the stage is yours.
Hello, so hi everyone. My name is Robin, and Hi everyone, my name is Robin, and I represent Belgium today. So I slightly disagree with Katarina's statement. There are advantages of playing video games, but there are also important disadvantages. So like, as Philippos and Ishani already said, some disadvantages are anxiety, addictions, and less sleep because of video games. But there are also much more disadvantages. So today I'm going to talk about the disadvantages of playing video games. So first disadvantage is isolation. So what do I mean by that? I mean like you stay in your room for a long time alone without like real life interactions with somebody else. A second disadvantage is putting gaming above your hobbies. So in extreme cases, maybe stop your hobby to play a game. Another disadvantage is rather on your social life and communication. If you game maybe too much, it will be difficult to start a conversation or just have a normal, natural conversation with somebody. A different disadvantage is that you can maybe change your behavior because of gaming. So if you play aggressive games or like games with shooting, maybe you can become more aggressive in real life. And in games, there are much sorts of gambling. Maybe you don't really know that it's gambling, but there are much sorts of gambling. And then as a last disadvantage, there could be pressure for the young people. So like if a game says you have to play 2 hours a day to not lose your progress that you have made in, I don't know, a week or two, and you have to play 2 hours a day, that's pressure from the game to young people that they don't really need. So thank you for listening. I'll pass the stage back to Katarina.
Thank you, guys. So we heard opinions from older panelists, but here we have also younger participants whose opinions slightly differ. Panelists who are 13 and 14 years old see many positives as connection with new people, as we heard also from the audience, and also communication with people who have the same interests and are all over the world. They appreciate also opportunity to be the part of the community and make friends all over the world and speak to them, and they can also improve their languages as English or German, as many games are in different languages. Some of them see also the negative point of the gaming, and it can be addiction. It influences also basic needs as sleep, eating, their school homeworks, and other things. And another point is that these games at early young age also influence their behavior, emotions as anger or anxiety, and that can has real impact in their life when they grow up. So that's our point of view. Thank you very much. And now I would like to kindly invite the speakers on the stage. So, Dirk Bosmans, the director of PEGI. Davinia Maria Muscat from Safer Internet Center in Malta. And Tomasz Smaczny from Poland, who's representing parents.
Have any objections about lunchtime have arisen? No? Good. Let's move on. So, starting off, I would like if Mr. Dirk would kindly give us an insight of how the PEGI rating systems work, how they protect children, and how he believes the system can be improved.
So I'm going to try not to repeat what I've said in the previous session and simply take it to the next level. So the starting point is informing parents, making sure they make informed decisions. Now, how do we do that? We just don't allow video games companies to pick the ratings, but we do need their input. These days, we have to process thousands and thousands and thousands of games per month, whereas maybe 15 years ago, we were talking about maximum 2,500 per year. So we have to adapt to the volumes, which is why we work closely together with the German age rating system and other age rating systems in the world. But essentially, we have developed criteria for classification, which are expressed in simple yes-no questions that video game companies need to answer. So in a first stage, there is a self-declaration where the video game company answers these questions. Does your game contain violence? Yes or no? Yes. Is this realistic violence? Is this non-realistic violence? Here are some examples. Yes, it's realistic violence. Is this against human-like or non-human-like characters? And so on and so on. At the very end, on the basis of those questions, we can already assume that it's going to be a PEGI 18 for violence and bad language. But it doesn't stop there. Video game companies then supply our administrators with video game content. So yes, there are people in Europe whose job it is to play video games to check if the age rating is correct. This is not done by the people of PEGI. We outsource this work to create an extra layer of separation between the video games industry and those that do it. It's the NICAM Institute in the Netherlands and the Games Rating Authority in the United Kingdom who examine these games and, if needed, change the answers to those questions. Lastly, how did we come to these questions? Who decides on whether specific sorts of violence are PEGI 16 or PEGI 12? We have an experts group in our organization, which consists of age rating specialists, but also psychologists and sociologists with a specific expertise into minor protection, who help us develop these criteria to sort of very carefully, objectively draw the line between a PEGI 12 and a PEGI 16. It's never going to be perfect. We always have like a bag of difficult rating decisions at the end of every year, but we do come close. If we then, for example, see how other age rating systems in the world do it, you will notice the differences, but broadly speaking, we are all on the same page.
If you would please pass the mic to Mr. Tomasz. So, Mr. Tomasz, when it comes to gaming, why do you think that communication between the parents and the kids is important?
Thank you for this question. Well, I'm just representing as a regular parent here, yeah? And a regular parent might not be a gamer, and I'm not the gamer myself, yes. I have a 9-year daughter, and I see she's more interested into games. And for me, the key is that there is a trust between myself or, you know, her other parent, her mom, and herself to share and to have a dialogue about whatever experience in life she has. That includes also gaming, yes? So if I don't understand something, if I don't understand the reason why she's playing this particular game, you know, I would love to have the kind of relationship that allows her to come to me and say, look, you might not be very, I don't know, happy about me playing this game, but let me explain. Let's play together, okay? Instead of playing your board game, sometimes I just want to play with her a board game, let's play my video game, yeah? And that's why we have this dialogue and this trust, and then that makes me more secure. And this is what I think we need. It was said before that the parents are overwhelmed with expectations. You know, we now have to be, if I want to call myself an engaged parent, and I think that's the life of most of you, we have to be experts in sexual education, in gaming, in internet, in cooking, and biology, and maybe even in quantum physics soon. So it's impossible, yeah? So that's why we need to have this trust, the trust between ourselves and the kids, but also the trust in regulators and you know, organizations like PEGI. That's why I put the PEGI shirt, just to show I need to trust them, because otherwise I'm lost. Thank you.
It would appear that Mrs. Davinia is ahead of schedule and already has a mic in her hands. So, Mrs. Davinia, how can parents be empowered and supported to help children have a good gaming experience?
So, just to give you a bit of a background, I'm a bit of a gamer myself. And so I have kids as well. They're still young, fortunately, but also because I know the kind of environment that they might engage with, I am more apt to choose the games that I think are more appropriate for their age. Okay? What I can say about empowering parents is that a lot of the parents, I think, don't feel comfortable if we leave our children in a playground, right? And then we go have coffee on the other side of the road, and we don't know what our kids are doing in the playground, if it's secure, if anyone is speaking to our kids and who they are, and even if they're speaking amongst themselves. We want to be sure that they are playing in a safe environment and that they are approaching each other in a civil way when they are playing together. The same way we need to treat, I feel, we need to treat online gaming as an online playground where we are leaving our children online to experience life, to have team player games, to explore their new skills. I mean, I have good directional skills because from my Warcraft days, I don't know if any of you used to play as well, but I attribute that to my gaming. So there are skills which I've learned from gaming, which I think children nowadays can also explore and expand on. So it's not something which is bad. Nevertheless, I think to empower parents, they need to share a common language. Sometimes I feel that if a child comes up to you and say, oh, because this tank did this to me, and this DPS flanked me from the back. How many of you understood what I just said? Yeah, yeah. Right, so if you already share some kind, I know language nowadays, I mean, even with emojis, even I'm a bit lost with emojis and I have to update myself, but when there is a shared and a common language, there's a better chance that when the child experiences a problem online, they feel more comfortable in opening up because they don't need to explain to you what the online playground is all about. They can just go straight into the problem and you're not looking at them like, what are you saying right now? So what I suggest to empower parents, the same way that we spend time with them, we can also spend time with them online playing the same game together. And that way, we're also building a relationship. It is not just them and the screen and someone that they don't know. There is a relationship being built. And that way, we can then be in the forefront or be more aware of the potential risks that they might meet, because there are so many games, so many different games. Some might relax you, and some really make you go, they rage. I'm not sure if how many of you know what raging means, but that's to the point where you feel like you want to break the screen. And believe me, I've been on the calm side and I've been on the raging side. So, and I know when to step back due to my experience. So that's something that we need to teach our children. Now, this is a time when to step back and to take a breather and to come back to our human experience, because first and foremost, we have a body and we need to take care of ourselves and our body. So something which I would like to also see, if the gaming platform doesn't create this, we can create it ourselves. Say, every hour, the phone will ring, and it is a signal for you to step back, go to the toilet, go have a drink, come check in with me, step back. And you have these prompts that can help you also manage your time online. I think I've spoken quite a lot.
All right. Sadly for you, we're not done yet. You won't have lunch yet. We have more. We have another set of questions, which will be asked by Kabir himself.
So now come the second round of questions for the three panelists here. So the first one goes to Dirk. So Dirk, you know about loot boxes. So
I do.
Yes, of course. So we want to know your opinion about why you consider loot boxes as a sign of gambling. Do you consider them gambling, and how will you be able to infuse it into the PEGI rating? We would like to know your opinion.
This is a discussion that has been ongoing for more than 8 years, and I'm really hopeful that one day it will stop. We can find a solution to this. But whether something is gambling or not is on the one hand an opinion on the internet, and on the other hand a legal definition. And that's the problem, where we seem to mix them up. People say, this is gambling to me, whereas gambling regulators will say, it looks a lot like gambling, but it actually isn't. And there are some fundamental differences that make it that we can't really include it into the gambling regulation. So that is where we are today. Gambling regulators have expressed concerns about paid loot boxes, but haven't included them in gambling regulation because they have also identified specific differences. Now, that doesn't finish the conversation. The percentage was mentioned today. So there is also the perception that every game has loot boxes these days. Well, 3% of the games that we classify in PEGI have paid loot boxes. 97% does not. Also, that's not an excuse to sort of say, oh, it's not relevant. It's only 3%. No, among those 3% are some of the most popular and most profitable games out there. It's just a way to sort of say that parents, if they don't like paid loot boxes, there is a vast offering of games that do not include these. For a system like PEGI, a pan-European system, gambling regulation is not very effective because it's a national competence. And it would mean that of the 35 countries where PEGI is active, 35 countries would have to do this. And I think that's going to lead us nowhere. I think we've spent a number of years discussing whether loot boxes should be gambling, and I think we should better look at how can we regulate these better so that the concerns can be taken away. And that's what we're currently looking into with the help of USK, to sort of see what are the differences between loot boxes, because loot box systems are very diverse. Not a lot of people fully understand how that works. Moreover, there are restrictions already available. If you don't want a kid to access paid loot boxes, setting spending off by default basically already prevents that from happening. Now, that puts the burden on the parent, which is not necessarily the point that we're trying to make. So what I sort of want to say in conclusion is, if we want to continue the discussion about whether loot boxes are gambling, we're probably taking the hard and the long and the possibly not very effective route to address this issue.
Thank you very much for your opinion about loot boxes. I guess got way more informed than we were before about what we're trying to do now. So the second question goes to Tomasz. What is the biggest fear as a parent when your child is playing online games? What fears do you have? What your child is doing on that game?
Wow, that's a dark question. Well, I think I would start from the beginning, not from the bottom of the worst things that could happen. Just the beginning is that then my kid would spend too much time with the screen. That's the basic. And so the approach I'm having is just I'm trying to make sure that during the day she has enough physical activity, she has enough valuable time with the close ones before she plays a game. Yeah, that's for me like a kind of benchmark. Yeah, if I see that she was overwhelmed with other things at school and maybe in life, and she still wants to play a game, then I would say, look, maybe later, let's do something else. Let's chill out, let's spend time together, let's have a conversation, let's have a walk, and let's run, let's do something physical. So just to have a balance. So that would be my first fear. And going forward, I really don't know. I mean, I've just learned what could happen. And that's why I would love to trust the regulators and the organizations like PEGI to keep me informed what's going on. The loot boxes question that you asked was not answered by many people because we didn't know what it was. Yes, and this is a very specific language. I think that actually, when I have lots of experience in advertising industry, and I'm thinking throughout this conference how all of these great ideas that are created in Belgium can then go down to the roots. Yes. What should happen that a parent in, I don't know, Slovakia in some village get the information about what we are talking about here. And because parents are also overwhelmed, we don't abdicate from being parents, but we are overwhelmed with lots of things. I think I had an idea that, you as young people, you are both heavy users, for example, of games, but also you're very knowledgeable. And if you create this network, you have this network, and you talk to your peers, then probably you would the level of digital literacy and education would be even better. Yes. So, yeah, I know I just diverged from the question, but sorry.
No, it's okay. Now we got to know what's your biggest fear, and thank you for sharing this story with us. So the last question goes to Ms. Davinia. So what benefits do you see when children are playing online games? So what do you think is helping them? What do you think are the benefits?
Okay, so there are several because, and again, it depends on the kind of game that you're playing. So if you are playing a first-person shooter game with a team, then you are building on communication with your teammates, strategy on where to place yourselves, and how to win the game. If you are playing Tetris, you are also helping your mind to see things and strategize how to fit things together that otherwise will take you more time to figure out. There are sandboxes where children can create, or not children, anyone can create a whole world to their liking. So you need to figure out how to place things, where to place things, and how to, and you can also become your own entrepreneur online. So every game presents different skills that a child or a person will maybe hone in on. You're asking me a lot about positive online experience, and I've already kind of mentioned that. But I also need to point out that with the positive also comes a lot of negative. And while we're focusing on communication with others, you also don't, there's plenty of experiences where just because you're a female, you are targeted, or just because you're a different racial background, you're targeted. And there are plenty of online streamers that actually show this kind of behavior over and over. As soon as a person opens his mouth, they are met with a lot of toxicity and a lot of aggressive behavior, which we feel is also on the rise. And it is very normalized, and it is part, oh, it's only gaming, because this is part of gaming, the gaming experience. I've had a lot of children where, even though the game itself could be positive, they make it out to be a very aggressive and toxic environment for them and for others. And I think we've mentioned a lot of positivity here, and I want to point that out. As in, nowadays, you really need to be careful because there's a lot of cyber flashing online also when you are chatting with other people that you don't know. And it doesn't necessarily happen on social media. It is happening through the games. So going back to positivity, there are a lot of skills which one can hone in on. And I would really like to focus more on communication. I think the parent and the child really needs to learn the skills on how to communicate, how they're feeling, even communication with themselves, which I think they're losing. When you're playing a game, it's you and the game, and there's a lot of like a barrier from feeling your own emotions, like I need to eat, I need to sleep. You know, you're blocking yourself. So we need to get back to also getting in touch with yourself, as in your inner feelings, while you're playing the game. I know it's not positive, but I think it's very important to mention how quickly one can be drawn into the game and the kind of environment they are met once they are online. Even though I'm pro-gaming, I also need to state, listen, there are a lot of risks and dangers, which we also need to be aware of. And that is why we need to focus on communication between parent and child, so that when the child meets something that they don't feel comfortable with, they are comfortable enough to speak to someone that they can trust.
We heard the three opinions, and the last one was very interesting. We got to hear the disadvantages, basically, and the advantages. So we heard the good points and the bad points, which is actually very good, because we can't always overshadow the bad. Like, we cannot always have the good points. We can't have the good points being the only thing presented. We also have to show the things that are bad while doing online gaming. So that's a very good point. So now we had all the three questions answered. And now if we could maybe get your attention to the screen, we'll be showing an illustration by our graphic designer. So hopefully it should come on. So here you see it. So now we have our illustration here. It was made by a graphic designer, and with all the points from our gaming session here, you can see that, for example, there's rage, anger, gambling. For example, gambling was with the loot boxes a bit. Raging was a bit with basically on the verge of really trying to smash the screen, like completely out of control. We also have the learning languages, communication. So while playing games, you can learn, you can communicate with different people. And then so yeah, you can see here it's very well made. There's disadvantages, there's develop a common language, online gaming can, and then you have all the benefits, the disadvantages, disadvantages, and everything. So thank you for listening to the three opinions we had here.
Can I add something?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So something that was mentioned before also is that the idea of loneliness of when you're playing games, and while it is also socializing, I can relate back to an experience that I myself share. So experience myself. So when I used to game a lot before I had my own children, by the way, I used to meet a lot of other people online, and the moment that some of them, the moment that they heard a female voice, they will hurl insults at me, and then I would enjoy eliminating them out of the game, just to be. But then there were others that are so open, so ready that they're looking for someone to talk to, and that they spill their guts to me because they feel safe because I'm a female. And my experience and my feeling is they found me and I'm not interested in doing anything else. But what if I was someone who was a predator, who was waiting and willing for someone to open up, and then I can use it against them. And while it is nice to speak to people that you do not know online, I mean, I don't know you, but we're still meeting, at least face to face, and we can learn each other. It's the same thing online, but it is harder. It is much harder online to know who you're speaking to and their intentions. And when our children are behind locked doors and you don't know who they're speaking to, you never know what kind of messages are coming their way. So what I suggest for parents, going back to my initial of how to empower parents, leave your kids in a more social area, in a social space. It's better if they are with you in the living room rather than behind closed doors. And it goes twofold, because if they are about to hurl insults at someone, at least you as a parent can tell them there and then, hey, what are you doing? Why are you shouting? That kind of thing. Because no one online is going to be there and tell you, that's wrong, stop now, you know? So if the child knows that they might be found out, there's a better chance that they are better citizens online when they are gaming. And also that the space online, they're not gonna, some people might send you links that will take you into other places. And obviously, if you'll know that you're going to go in a dark space, being in a social space, you don't want to be found out. So it's harder for them to access the material that should not reach them. So that is something I would also encourage for parents to do. Don't keep them locked in their bedrooms, not knowing what they're doing for a long period of time. Keep them in a social space next to you so that you know what's going on.
So now I'll let Vangelis come onto the podium and maybe also give a few points of his own.
No, you won't beating yet. So, questions? You stay there and keep looking good. Questions? No. Questions? Do you have any questions? That's surprising.
We can talk at lunch. We can talk at lunch.
Can I maybe raise a question? I'd like to ask ourselves a question about the theme of this session, empowering parents. We've talked to some degree about empowering parents and informing them and helping them make the right decisions. But there's a second part. It's raising resilient kids. I think that is really interesting. And the reason why I'm bringing it up is that I sometimes feel that is missing from the debate. Of course, we want to prevent and protect children from the worst case scenarios, but there's a broad spectrum of things that they can experience in a negative way. Coping is also important. Making sure that when it happens in their room, that they come out and talk to parents or with peers about that is also important. And failing successfully. I would love teenagers, children below, I'm talking about teenagers specifically, but they have the age where they need to make mistakes. And that is often missing. I don't think everybody is keen to raise them in a bubble, but we do need to leave some space for mistakes as well, because they are incredibly important in the learning process.
I will ask one last time. Do you have any questions?
Evangelos, we have one from the online participants, actually, which I'll read out if that's okay.
Yeah.
It's for Dirk. It says, with the creep of AI-generated content into some video games, either as pre-rendered assets or dynamic content, and some games which are featuring large language models posing as characters, is there going to be a need soon for PEGI to introduce an AI-present content descriptor?
We've discussed generative AI with our experts last year. AI plays on different levels for video games. In development, it can hopefully be a useful tool. It shouldn't supplement human creation. I think it will try, but I don't think it will succeed. But when it comes to user-generated AI content video games, what counts for us is filtering. And we also do age classifications for apps on Google Play, not just the games. And there are generative AI apps that actually got us into a little, well, trouble with the law, because if our administrators that I just mentioned have to check and examine these applications, and they have, for example, the ability to generate anime-style child pornography, they're actually breaking the law if they're doing that. So that caused some issues for us. Now, obviously, that is heavily illegal and therefore should be filtered out. If AI applications and AI applications within games make sure that they are filtering what is inappropriate, I think it can play its role. But that's the thing. AI now barged onto the scene and seems to spread faster than you can contain it. So I think now we need to clean it up a little bit before we can take it further. But in any case, our experts are keeping a close eye on how the technology is evolving and how it's being applied within video games.
Right. And I saw one question over there, so let's wrap it up.
I had a question to Mr. Tomasz to just understand more the parents' view. So you mentioned that even parents often don't fully understand online risk, and what would help parents to understand it more so they can help us young people to understand it better.
So the question was, what would help the parents to understand the kids? Yes.
So I am thinking about what sources you will need that can help you educate and protect your kids.
Okay, so yeah, just thinking from the parenting point of view. Well, first of all, I think there are already lots of resources in this world, yeah, but we are overwhelmed with information. So we just need very simple guides on different things, not going into too much detail, but things that are the most important. And how can we get this information? Well, first of all, I assume we just have to be active and understand what the PEGI rating means, and just read the guidance when there is a particular game. But also, I think the natural environment of parents. So, for example, the kids' school plays a critical role, and if there are I just mentioned how you can help us. If there are some talks or even some workshops on gaming at the school, the parents would naturally be, I think, interested if the kid brings this topic to home. Yeah. So that's how I see we can be empowered through the dialogue between the organizations, the institutions, but also between the parents and the kids. I think if we are just left alone, and you know, it's on us to read and then talk to the kid, then okay, some things may happen, but yeah, but not all the time and at the right time and at the right place.
And I'd like to very briefly tag on to that. Age rating systems exist, parental control tools exist. That's not a reason for the industry or anyone to sit back and relax. We need to continuously educate parents, because you're always going to get new parents on the scene who have knowledge about video games that is at least 10 to 15 years old in most cases. So you do need to re-educate them. This is a continuous effort. And so for that reason, parental controls have actually gone through an amazing transformation. They started as a section in the settings of an obscure machine that people weren't sure where it should be placed, in the kids' room or in the living room. These days, they have moved towards apps. They're really highly accessible apps. And for that reason, we're cooperating with national trade associations across Europe now with a campaign called Press Play, where we literally take parents by the hand and show them how simple parental control tools can be. And they're also very diverse. You don't want to restrict time, but you only want to restrict spending, that's fine. You don't want to restrict, you just want to monitor. Everything goes, and it's just by tapping a few things on an app. So also making sure that we continue to improve on these applications and keeping these campaigns going on, because otherwise awareness will drop. So this is a continuous effort that will never, ever stop.
If you had any questions, then too bad you lost your chance. No, you won't beat in yet, because Karl has some things to wrap up. Thank you.
This is incredibly short. You will be eating very, very soon. Three things from me. The first one, please remember that we want you to vote for your favorite resource. The QR codes will appear magically on the screen at some point. You can do that right up until coffee break this afternoon. The second thing is that we would like you to remember that the EU AV app booth is there for you to go and test it and see what are the positives and what are the things that you might need to change. There will be a lot more opportunity for discussions this afternoon. But the final thing is, please be back in here at 2 o'clock, because you will not want to miss what is going to be happening in here at 2 o'clock. But can you just join me in thanking all of the youth panel who've just led that session so brilliantly, and the panelists.
Missed me? No? Okay, you can go. Go eat.